Next question I have for you is Andy Reid the best NFL coach of all time? I think it's a worthwhile question.
Right now, and this is a non-biased thing. I mean, sure, there's a little personal bias just because I am a Chiefs fan, but statistics-wise, and not only I don't want to only take like wins and losses into account. I also want to take into account how well they utilize players that don't necessarily have that like star aspect and not necessarily like have these huge names on their team, you know? People will talk about Belichick and how he has all these wins and all these Super Bowls and blah blah blah. But if you watch and you watched how Belichick played with Tom Brady versus when he had Mac Jones for 2 years, however long he was there, Belichick, I don't think, then this might be a hot take, was that good of a coach. But Andy Reid has a way with players in which no matter who they are and no matter where their play style is, he finds ways to make them play good.
Yep.
He gives them opportunities to show their strengths, and he instills this sort of confidence in players that allows them to play at a higher level than if a coach was just to put them in their position and make them do what every other player does at that position. And I think that sets Andy Reid apart because players want to play for Andy Reid.
Yes.
And they enjoy playing for Andy Reid. And it's less about wins and more about being a team.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big reason on why the Chiefs play so good and win so many games is because I think they're one of the few teams in the league that plays like a team.
Yeah. Well, when I think of the best coaches of all time, you have I watched Bill Walsh, who's what's called the genius. He won 3 Super Bowls, did really well, but you got to take a couple things into in whenever you're factoring this. 1, winning. 2, longevity. Okay, so Bill Walsh was had a 10-year run that was great. It was a 10-year run. If you take Bill Belichick, he did have a long run and did really well. But if you actually look at his career, he fizzled out at the beginning before the Patriots. Then he did really well when he was with Tom Brady. Then after Tom Brady, he fizzled again. So you have bookends that are not good, but the main part of the book was really good. So then you have to start to say, was it Tom Brady or was it this? And I think a lot of people realized when Tom Brady left and joined a 500 team. They were a decent team of the Bucs, but they go win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You got to start going, all right, maybe this was more, and it doesn't, I don't think Bill Belichick was a bad coach. I think he's a very, very good coach. But when you're talking GOATs, I look at, now you go to Andy Reid. Andy Reid was a great, so you can be a great coach and not win a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
I think at the Eagles, he was a great coach.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And he did very well. I can't remember, but they were, I think, in the NFC Championship game like 3 or 4 times with him. Then he comes over. Alex Smith was a good quarterback, but not a great quarterback. But he was average to good, in that range. And when he went and played for Andy Reid, he had his best year ever. And he just knows how to take a player and say, all right, you might not be great at this, this, and this, but you're really good at this. So I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to put you over here, and I got a power back, and I'm going to use you to do, run right up the middle, and you're fast, and I'm going to. So it's a very strong argument that he could be the greatest coach that have ever played. If he retired right now, if he retires after this season, which I don't think he will, and they don't win a Super Bowl, he's hard for me to argue that he's not.
Yeah, I would definitely push for him to be number 1. I think you put Belichick at 2.
Yeah.
And then
hard to argue 7 Super Bowls.
Personally, in my opinion, I put Pete Carroll at 3.
Okay.
That's just me, though.
So Pete Carroll was another one that
who's also with the Patriots franchise with Belichick.
Yeah, so Pete Carroll didn't do well the first time he was in the NFL, and then he went to college. I don't know where you factor all this in, because then when he went to college, he was awesome, and then he went to the pro. So he was a different quarterback or different coach the second time around.
Absolutely.
So, but he was a great, and people loved playing for him.
Yeah,
he was another one. I don't think people like playing for Bill Belichick.
No,
So,
a couple of the players
yeah.
did, like
So-
Edelman and
Yeah.
and Gronk.
Gronk.
And if you look at the the main factor in all three those guys, I think you can figure out what I'm referring to there.
Gronk's a different guy.
Those types of guys have a lot of grit.